Polls leading up to tonight, of course, they have shown the presidential race basically a virtual tie.
Well, 2 on Your Side's Rob Hackford is breaking down the numbers for us, says polls just closed in our neighboring battleground state of Pennsylvania. Rob, probably too early to get any numbers there. What do you say?
Yeah, just 3% reporting in Pennsylvania right now, but we want to give you a sense of where the other results are going to be throughout the rest of the evening. That includes with the closing times that we see filling in here. Obviously, we had the first chunk in places like North Carolina, Pennsylvania in the 8 o'clock hour. But as we move across to the West Coast here, that's what we're going to be following throughout the rest of the night. So lots to keep track of here, and just very early numbers at this point. Only a few states have been called at this point. Vermont for Vice President Harris. We've got Indiana and Kentucky for President Trump as well. And as we continue on through the rest of the night, this is what everyone's fighting for here. This is what Vice President Harris and former President Trump are fighting for, especially in these battleground states of Pennsylvania. 19 electoral college votes. They're a big chunk. North Carolina, Georgia, again, also looking out west to Nevada and Arizona later in the night here. So again, this is going to be a tight race. You need the 270 to win here. There are a couple of ways that this could end in a tie as well at 269. Again, just two scenarios there, so very unlikely, but lots to keep track of. And again, these 7 swing states, we know that Pennsylvania, the results there are coming in very early on. With the early vote there, it's done a bit differently with mail-in and absentee kind of combined. You don't actually vote in person, but the votes there are important to note that it's going to take some time for them to go through those votes. The early indications right now with requests, there are about 2.2 million requested votes there. Again, this is for the 19 electoral college votes. 55% of those requested ballots were from Democrats. 32.5 are from Republicans, 13 from individuals signed up with other parties. That could be Green, Working Family parties, and so on. And the results for the ones that had been returned, the results that we're seeing very early on right now, with just 3% reporting, pretty much aligned with who submitted or who went out to vote in those elections. So lots to keep track of here. And I know my colleague Nate Benson is going to have more on that actually out at the big board here with a look at some of those numbers, Nate. You know, early on it looked like Harris was taking the lead here, but again, with those numbers, that would seem to indicate the early vote are the only numbers that we have at this point.
Yeah, that's right, Rob. Here in the newsroom with my election team. So right here you can see all the people locally who are going to be monitoring the Board of Elections areas, who are tracking over 190 races here in Western New York. But the polls are still open in Western New York. They close at 9 o'clock. So in this 8 o'clock hour, we're talking about kind of the national scene. And as Rob was just talking about, here's a snap electoral map right now on our WGRZ.com. As you can see, Harris with 35 electoral votes, Donald Trump 95 so far. And we're seeing this update in real time. Just in the last minute, Kansas City lit up, leaning towards Harris. Illinois leaning towards Harris, Texas leaning towards Donald Trump. Georgia has been hovering around Donald Trump for the last hour and a half. And these deep red states right here, those have already been called, which is why Donald Trump has those 95 electoral votes right now. So the map is lighting up as polls are closing on the East Coast. As we move to the Midwest, of course, you know, we're going to see this map light up in the next hour or so with a lot more results. So certainly make sure we're going to be transitioning to a lot more local coverage. Once the polls close here in Western New York, there's a lot of races, over a dozen, 2 dozen state assembly races, state Senate races. We've got the big Erie County Democratic or district attorney race coming up too. So there's a lot of things happening. Once that 9 o'clock hour hits Scott and Mary Ellis, we're going to see a lot more changed on this map and, of course, here on WGRZ.com with our local coverage.
That's for sure, Nate. We are just getting started.